Revvo is the phone in my home.
It's the one I can afford.
Revvo gives me lower LD.
And you know it gives me more.
I get local calls for free, and I can win big prizes too. Revvo makes my family rejoice. Revvo is the choice for me.
Your new home phone is here. Sign up for Revvo today, and you can win great weekly prizes and a brand new Honda CR-V from Nassau Motor Company. Get Revvo home phone for as low as $14.99 a month. Call us at 601-8992 or visit us online at cablebahamas.com/RevVoice. Rejoice this Christmas with Revvo.
Good evening, Bahamas. This is NB12 broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Here's what's making news tonight. The government and opposition weigh in on Moody'S downgrade. We speak with the family of a young boy killed by a motorist. Police warn of a new armed robbery trend, plus super value expanding. Those stories and much more on the way. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and NB12 starts right now. Thanks again for joining us here at NB12. Moody'S downgrade for the Bahamas' credit rating has forced a reality check on the government about how it is currently managing the country's finances. That's according to Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis, who today admitted that the government is now taking a long, hard look at what policies will have to be implemented to get the country back on the right track. This while the Free National Movement defends its management of the economy over the past 5 years after the Ingram administration has been blamed for the financial mess the country is now in. Paige McCartney reports.
Halkitis said he's not concerned at all about casting blame. However, he's more concerned about fixing the country's financial problems. He said it will take a multi-year approach to accomplish 3 things: reducing leaks in revenue while also finding new forms of revenue generation, and also implementing those government programs that will expand the economy. Halkitis said it will also take cuts to expenditure, but he stressed that at this point it won't involve human resources. Moody'S points to limited growth in tourism and construction, a low revenue base, and rising debt levels as the main driving factors behind the drop from A3 to Baa1. Prime Minister Perry Christie on Thursday admitted that the state of the economy was sobering and that revenue collection is not where the government would like it to be. According to Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis, the government is losing tens of millions in revenue each year to leakages. For instance, he said the poor administration of real property tax collection and the $20 million lost annually from the smuggling of untaxed tobacco into the country are major issues. Halkitis said legislation to curb those leakages, along with strategies to grow the economy through government-approved projects over a 3 to 4 year period, should resuscitate the economy.
Better administration, growth in the economy will contribute. And then the other point I spoke about was new sources of revenue. And we're looking at some options, where, for example, we were not collecting revenue before, but there are some possibilities of us opening up, and we can talk about that at a later date, but we're at a stage now where we're trying to just have those discussions.
The government is in the final stages of preparing a white paper on tax reform that will contain various options to restructure the tax system. Halkitis said value-added taxes will be a part of that new system, the elements of which will be tabled in Parliament early next year. The government also intends to make cuts to expenditure, according to Halkitis, however, at a gradual pace.
We are not in a position where we are contemplating any sort of reduction in staff. What we would like to do is contain the level of growth of the head count by being able to better deploy our people. But I should say that it is very, very difficult in our framework to talk about about cuts. That's why we speak about doing it at a gradual level and eliminating waste. Because, for example, we're looking at about 60% of our budget goes for people costs, salaries and emoluments, and then we're talking about debt servicing being another 19 or 20%, leases, other legal obligations. So you see that the wiggle room, so to speak, in terms of making cuts without causing severe disruption is limited.
Moody'S places the lion's share of the blame for the country's economic situation on the last Ingram administration's high level of borrowing for capital works projects and public sector employment. Alkita says this issue of the economy is not about politics, but he says the facts are in the credit rating agency's report.
They say, from 2007, the debt to GDP was 31%, now it's 53%. To be quite blunt, that's not on our watch, all right? I don't want to dwell on that. We have to move forward. But, of course, there'll be some people who want to put a political spin on it and say, the fact of the matter is now we're in the chair, all right? The Bahamian people are going to look to us for results.
But F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says the Ingram administration did nothing wrong. He said if the former Ingram administration did not borrow and spend as much as it did, the country would have been worse off than it is now.
We did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. We were essentially preparing the Bahamas to be in a better condition than it is today. And we're seeing the benefits of it. Unfortunately, the benefits are not as great as we would have expected because the recession continued. As a result of the continuation of the recession, our benefits are minimal. But that is what had to be done. And any government that was in, if they were true to the public and wanted to take the country to another level and govern the country accordingly, would have done the same thing. And for them to say differently, for anybody to say differently, is wrong.
Minnis is of the view that it is now up to the current government to implement austerity policies to keep the momentum going. Alkita, on the other hand, said he doesn't believe the government will go that route of implementing such strict expenditure cuts. Reporting for MB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
Days after police revealed they had two 22-year-old men in custody for questioning in connection with a number of murders committed over the past 2 years, the pair was charged along with another man for 2 murders today. Christina McNeil was there and filed this report.
Heavy police presence outside the South Street Court complex this afternoon as 3 men believed to be responsible for 2 high-profile murders face charges before a magistrate. Earlier this week, Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade told reporters that the 2 22-year-old men who were assisting police with their investigations into at least 23 murders would be charged with at least 5 of those murders before the end of the week. This afternoon, the 2 men, Patrickito Rose, also known as Ryder of Pine Barren Road, seen wearing the white T-shirt, and Rashad Sullivan, a.k.a. Mikey of Sapadilla Boulevard, in the red jacket, were escorted to the South Street Court complex under heavy police guard. South Street was blocked off from through traffic as armed officers patrolled the area. Rose and Sullivan were charged with the December 7th murder of Garth Major. Police say Rose and Sullivan also robbed Major of a gold link chain valued at $800, a Nautica watch valued at $200, and 2 gold rings valued at $500. Major, the 104th murder victim of the year, was killed outside his Kennedy subdivision home last Friday. Rose and Sullivan were further charged with the November 25th murder of Dario Knowles, who was killed at Lincoln Boulevard off Cordo Avenue. Knowles is the son of Dion Emperor Knowles, who was killed by machine gun fire last July while riding a motorcycle near the roundabout at Faith Avenue and Milo Butler Highway. The pair was today also charged with conspiracy to commit murder, along with 26-year-old Eddie Artis, a.k.a. Green of Sugar Hill Road, also wearing a white T-shirt. Prosecutors allege that the trio conspired to commit the murder of Dario Knowles between November 1st and November 25th. The men were not required to enter a plea to the charges, and Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez explained that the matter will be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court by way of a voluntary bill of indictment. After the charges were read, the men told Gomez they were in fear for their lives and asked to be placed in protective custody rather than remand at Her Majesty's prison. The reason, they said, was because family members of the victims whose deaths they were being questioned in connection with are also at HMP, and they claim they have been wrongfully accused. The men will return to court on April 23, 2013. Bail has been denied. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.
Police are still searching for the driver of the 2000 Honda Accord that struck and killed a 13-year-old boy as he was walking across the street on Robinson Road Wednesday night. Head of the Police Force Traffic Division Superintendent Ken Strawn says he has no doubt the driver was frightened after an angry mob attacked him and two other occupants of that car. However, authorities need his account of what happened that night. As police investigations continue into that fatal accident, Calvin Morley's grief-stricken family attended a memorial service at C.H. Reeves, where he was a 9th grade student. Vonnie Toot reports.
Tears flowed freely here at C.H. Reeves Junior High School this morning as teachers and students remembered the life of Calvin Morley. Now, as his family mourns his death, his aunt Cindy Morley Ferguson sent this message to the driver of the car that struck him.
Driver, I know you didn't mean it, but driver, you hurt us, driver. You hurt a family that was preparing for Christmas, but CJ wouldn't be able to see it. And so this Christmas, I don't feel it anymore because a part of me has been gone on to glory. But Father, I thank you for CJ.
Calvin, who was a 9th grade student at C.H. Reeves, was hit by a car as he was crossing the street Wednesday night. His aunt says she searched for the driver when she arrived on the scene. However, he had already fled the area to escape from angry onlookers, whom police say brutally attacked him and two passengers in his car. Morley Ferguson remembers seeing her dying nephew lying on the ground.
And when I noticed every bone in his body had been broken and his bone was poking out of him, I said, Lord, you'd think this would be our Christmas present, but I put him in your care. And as the ambulance took off with him, I went behind it, and as I reached by the hospital and they took him out of the ambulance, and they took him at the back, I heard the security said, he has passed away.
Morley Ferguson and other members of CJ's family were inconsolable during this morning's memorial service.
Walk on through the his love, and his wisdom, help and hide. I know the truth.
CJ's teachers say it will be difficult to accept that he won't be coming back when the new school term begins next year.
His fellow students in the class of 90, we can only imagine what they are also going to be going through as they return in the next school year to understand that they have lost one of theirs.
Calvin has touched many of us in a special way. He will be greatly missed.
3 weeks ago, my daughter got knocked down, and I felt at home. No one knows the pain. But when I reached to the hospital, she only had a cherry ticket drive from a Pleasant Green to the Chinese. Lord, I only want God to strengthen yours because I know the pain.
At the end of the somber service, CJ's grieving parents released purple and white balloons into the air to mark the release of his spirit. His death marks the 42nd traffic fatality for the year. He is the second teen to be struck and killed in 1 week. CJ's aunt says she prays no other children will suffer this fate.
I've lost CJ and I feel it today. And I ask you guys, please take heed, please. I hope this be the last child to get killed on these streets. I only miss every moment of your smile.
Calvin's aunt says what hurts the most is knowing they won't have him with them on Christmas Day. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.